It's that time again, time for some daily bread. I'm David, glad you're with us. One of my favorite comedians does a routine that he calls I Walked on the Moon. He sets it up by talking about a social gathering where there is someone who tells something impressive that they've done. Well, there's always that other person who starts the one-upsmanship game. They've done something better or bigger or more or whatever. And he said, I wish Neil Armstrong was at one of those gatherings and people start doing this back and forth and he can finally say, I walked on the moon. Nobody could top it. Nobody could do more than what he has done. Well, why do I bring that up? In our Luke class, we have at the end of that gospel looked at the crucifixion of Jesus. And in that one respect, it is just such an awful event, and you see all that Jesus went through on that occasion. And when Judas arrived at the garden to betray Jesus, Jesus said to him, "It is your hour and the power of darkness." You know, we're in a time when we look around us and we say, you know, it's just not right. It's just not fair. There are people who are not doing the things that they really ought to be doing or should be doing, or they're doing things they shouldn't, or you know, whatever. And then the question becomes, okay, so what next? And I say that in light of what Jesus experienced, because what he experienced was not right. It was not fair. People were not doing what they should have been doing, and people were doing things they shouldn't have been doing to the extreme. No matter what we face in our lives, no matter what we have to deal with or put up with, it's not going to be more than what Jesus did. And so it becomes very instructive and helpful for us to look at Jesus in that situation and circumstance. So here we are, and it's not right and it's not fair. It shouldn't be this way. Okay. That's true. So what next? What will we do in response to that? Well, quite frankly, some people will get mad. They'll get angry. They'll pitch a fit about it. They'll fuss and they'll complain. They'll lash out and berate and belittle. They'll do all kinds of things that somehow makes them feel better, but it doesn't change a thing. Now we look at Jesus and what was done to him wasn't right and it wasn't fair. What did he do? Did he lash out? Well, he sure could have. He could have gotten mad because it was wrong. He could have berated and belittled those who crucified him, but he didn't. He asked God to forgive them instead. Jesus did what was right in that situation. But it was the hour of darkness, and it prevailed on that occasion. And so when we find ourselves in this situation, what are we going to do next? We can get angry. We can respond with bitterness and enmity and strife and division and dissension and all of those things. And you may notice that list are the very things that are mentioned in Galatians 5 as works of the flesh. That's the response of the flesh. But that's not how we're supposed to respond, is it, as followers of Jesus Christ? We are to respond with the fruit of the Spirit, with love and kindness and peace and patience and goodness. And we may say, well, it doesn't change anything. Well, it didn't change anything when Jesus responded how he did and allowed Satan to have his way with him on that occasion. But then again, it did change everything, didn't it? You know, we are called upon to be lights shining in the darkness. But what we would rather do, I think, at times, is to change it so there is no more darkness. It's not right. It's not fair. It shouldn't be this way. This is darkness, and we've got to change it so it's not darkness anymore. That's not what he calls on us to do, is it? He calls on us to be lights shining in that darkness. And in that way, God is glorified. And so, as we find ourselves in this circumstance, Jesus says, okay, look at me, and look at my response, and you follow my lead. And we might want to say, man, that is so hard. Well, there's no denying that. It is challenging, it's difficult, because it goes against what we want to do. But Jesus, above all else, wanted to follow God and to do His will. And that's what He wants us to do in all of this situation as well, is to follow God and to do His will. And we can do this. And we can be light shining in darkness.